Hey guys, welcome back to some more AFK Arena. Today we're back over on the YouTube account and we're going to be looking at the new season of the Temporal Rift. That is right, guys. This is back again. Now, when it comes to the Temporal Beacon, very easy. Going in here and doing the trade enhancer is the main focus. It is really the primary focus for all of the players. Even looking at free to play or play to win, really trade enhancer is the primary one you want to keep max out in its entirety. And these little things up here, the crystalline cores, once you get this to a certain level, the crystalline cores come into play. For majority of players, you'll never use them because unfortunately, we do not build it, or most players do not build it that high. So looking at the Temporal Rift, we're going to go in here. We're going to reset this again. This is a brand new season, and I'm going to show you some teams in here that are a little bit higher end, but overall work super effective in a couple different game modes. Now, the first one I'm going to look at is utilizing Thorin. So the awakened version of Thorin. Now, if you don't have Thorin, the substitute in here is actually using Villanelle instead of Thorin. But Thorin, if you do have him built, up a little bit, makes a big difference. And then, of course, one of the absolute best tanks we see is Aethys. When it comes to the ability to shut down shutting down teams with the crowd control, it is kind of crazy how well this hero does perform. Then we're looking at Tamarass. Tamarass, again, when it comes to crowd control, when it comes to buffing, Tamarass does work incredibly well. And staying with our Graveborns, we are going to go with Ivan in this formation, working incredibly well. And of course, this is going to be a buffer for another hero that we're looking at, which is the awakened version of Antandra. Now, overall, she does have some issues with survivability, but you'll see we are going to be running her back row. We are also going to be using her SP effect. If you don't have her built, there are, again, a few variations in there. You could go with Lucius in here. You could go with Alna in here. You could go with a few different heroes in here. And really looking at this one, if you don't have this hero, or if you don't have it in the awakened version of Iran, it would be running the old school, and again, thinking of older seasons, running Lucius and running Alna together. Even running Alna Rem would work incredibly well. That is an older formation that we see. Now, looking at this one, we are going to start with, and looking here, we only have two choices. So we're going to have to change this up in a little bit, but I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to start with, let's do the Meteor Rise. This is going to be fighting right off the bat. Now, this is very similar to where you can go through here. You always want to take the path of least resistance. I say this time and time again when it comes to this, but when you're going through this game mode is you want to pick heroes you need. You can definitely pick out of here, but you always want to take where right here you can see the Grievous Realm is a little bit stronger than our Realm of Exploration. If there is ever a Realm of Exploration, that is the way that you want to go. So of course, in here, we'll go ahead, we will equip our badge, then we'll drop our team in here. We're going to do double tanks up front, and then I'm going to run Tamarass and of course, Ivan. Now for the pet in here, you can see we have availability to all of our pets. In here, we are going to do the owl. So we're going to use the winged owl in here. This is the formation that we're going to run. Now, one thing that I noticed is when we're going through here and we're auto battling this, is a lot of times what happens, I got to make sure the SP effect, but a lot of times what happens is when we're going through this game mode and we start doing the buffs and we get to the point where we need more than one team, it breaks the teams into a bunch of different formations and it doesn't work well at all. We want to, again, make sure that Antandra does have the ability, or it has the SP effect. And overall, you can also make sure that these are equipped. It's kind of weird because a lot of times when you're changing these in game modes, and I know this is kind of crazy with a lot of different heroes, with a lot of different players, is when you're going in here and you're swapping these, they change a lot. And I really don't like it. So even if I hop out of here, I go into a different game mode, Nightmare Corridor, the Curse Realm, everywhere else, I switch out the artifacts or I switch out the collections, it does not take effect. It will not save them with the collections. And again, switching out formations, a lot of things like that. It's really tough in there, but also looking in here, I think that it is going and using a little bit of our stability in here, just based on Thorin dying. I don't know, again, if that makes a big difference because you can see stability goes down a little bit, but auto running this, you'll see it does go it goes through pretty quick when you're going through the floors, and we can honestly farm quite a few floors till we get to the 2 teams, 3 teams, and ultimately we will go to 5 teams within the Temporal Rift. So if you're newer to AFK Arena, honestly, if you are a newer player to AFK Arena, it is about using the heroes you have available. This is what I did on my free-to-play account. You know, just really utilizing who you have built and the methodology you have built for a lot of players, they might not have a lot of these heroes. But when we start looking at some of the basic or some of the more basic teams that are not running like the Awakened version of Thorin, and again, if you don't have Thorin, Villanelle is the one that we are running within this formation before. Works incredibly well. So Villanelle, of course, is going to be a substitute. So even thinking of that, if you're running Aethys, if you're running Tamaris, if you're running Villanelle, if you're running Ivan, right there you are running 4 of your primary heroes. You are running 4 heroes that are the primary for a faction. So it does make it pretty easy. And then again, running Entendre. If you don't have Entendre, you could actually just drop another hero in here. That is a big or primary damage dealer. It will work incredibly well within this formation because you have a lot of crowd control. You have a lot of support with the buffing in here. It'll work out well, and it really does. You want to start this off very soon. I mean, definitely as soon as possible. Going in here, making progression through the Temporal Rift makes a big difference when it starts coming to further progression. The faster that you can level up, the faster you can essentially make progression in here not only yields you an incredible amount of resources, which is exactly what we're looking at. So we can go ahead, we can let this run until we get our 2 teams, and I can run through the rest of the teams that we have in here. But you can see it's gonna, because of where our heroes are built, because of where we're farming, it's going to be pretty easy to get through a majority of these floors. We usually cap the first day. We do this all the way at floor 100. But even here, once we go through and we get the stability kind of broken out, and you can see it's automatically upgrading the badges over here. Let's go again, path of least resistance. But looking at the beacon, as you continue through here, as you gain levels, that is the reason why you want to farm this as soon as possible. You want to gain a lot more levels. But looking at what we have here and looking at the rest of these formations, I just kind of want to break down what we have. So of course, this is the first formation. This is the one that I just shown. This formation actually utilizes the trap, but you have to get to the point of unlocking the trap. Looking at our second team, this is running the original version of Aziz. And again, this is an old school comp. We are running Jerome in here. We are running Gavis with the Awakened version of Belinda. So Belinda is the primary damage dealer in here. And you'll notice with these formations, most of these you do only have one primary damage dealer in here. And of course, Belinda is a primary hero. If you don't have Belinda, you're going to look at another formation. Then we do have Lava Tune in here with our Pelican as the pet. Now, this one is actually going to run the Axe. Looking at formation number 3, this is Shamira. And then, of course, we do have Shamira, Athalia. So you talk about a supercharged, expensive team. Aurelia is up here. We have Gwen. We have Amelion. Now, of course, some of the substitutions in here. If you don't have Gwen, Randall is actually the substitution that is coming out here. Crazy how strong and how well this hero works. But yes, Randall is the one that we would use as a substitution in there. If you don't have Melion, it would be Adrian Elise or another support hero. Same with Aurelia. If you don't have Aurelia, you could go ahead, you could use Demia earlier, or there'd be a point a little bit further. And then, of course, the Awakened Heroes priority. It's really big when we start looking at these heroes and how they do work. Looking at number 4, this is running Liberta and Lucilla. Such a very, very cool combination. You'll also notice in here that we have the Awakened version of Leica, where we're running the SP effect. We have the Shroom Spooter, which is the beast in here. Then we have Demia and we have Rem. Now, the big reason for this is, remember, with Leica's SP effect, these 2 heroes are going to have a massive shield on here. The rest of the heroes are going to come in later into the formation. And we also have the taunt ability that the Shroom Spooter provides, does work incredibly well. Looking at team number 5, this is Iran. And as you can see, it is the Awakened version of Iran, and it is Ulna. Now, of course, if you don't have Iran, you can put the Awakened version of Lucius in here. I'm sure like a Skylan would do incredibly well in here if you do have that hero. But I'm not sure. I don't think you can run the borrowed heroes in the Rift. But you notice we have Shuna in here, we have Misha in here, and then we have Kelthin. Now, overall, Kelthin does do incredibly well in a lot of different game modes. Even looking at, like the Hippo Tower does do incredibly well in the Hippo Tower. And then, of course, making sure that we have these kind of built out, that we have all of our abilities in here. Because, again, it's going to change. And I don't like how much it changes. I don't like how often it changes. But overall, it is kind of odd. And then, of course, we have the spooky, I forget the name of it, but it is the Halloween pet that we just got, or the Halloween beast that we just got. Now, you'll notice that I have the teams in here and I have the teams in formation. Unfortunately, the Temporal Rift is kind of weird with putting the heroes in formations and how it actually, launches them in here or how they do go in here. Now, I also do want to say when it comes to the Temporal Rift, guys, loot in here is crazy. You get a crazy amount of loot, but when it comes to the shop, I want to run through the award selection and show you exactly what we should buy. So looking in here, we have Hildebrand and we have Eugene. Neither of those two I would buy. The reason being we have them in the guild store. I would wait and I would buy and utilize my time emblems in here, which is going to be a priority. Now, looking at Brutus, we have Aziz, we have Solus, and we have Taylene. Out of all of these heroes, Solus is still the only one really out of those four that we're seeing a little bit of play. But again, I don't know at what point, do you stop building her? Does the utility for her go down a little bit? So looking at our time emblems, these are going to be the absolute biggest priority, is buying out all of these time emblems in the entirety, because that is, of course, going to be your Awakened heroes, followed by getting your Stargazer Scrolls. Now, Stargazer Scrolls in here, of course, those are going to be all of your Celestials and your Hypos, or they're also going to be the ability or give you the ability to finish out in 1-star those Awakened heroes. So you can see kind of in conjunction looking at this. I mean, we have a ton of time emblems and Stargazer Scrolls right here, Stargazer Scrolls time emblems, and then this whole bottom row, as well as the couple that we have in the top. This can make a really big difference if you are free to play, even if you are pay to win, because it'll give you the ability, unlocking the ability within the time emblem and within the Stargazer to actually build out all of those heroes in the entirety. I buy them out. When you think of some of the heroes, I mean, looking at Liberta and Lucilla, if you don't have them built, but looking at Nox, looking at Aurelia, looking at Demia, looking at Lavatoon, there are so many heroes in here that are really those top SSS tier heroes within AFK Arena that absolutely require a big build out like we see. Now, of course, again, when it comes to my comps, they are very heavy pay to win. That is the account. We've been playing this account for 5 years now, making a lot of progression, making really a ton of progression in here makes a big difference with how far you can actually push. You can see the Realm of Decimation. We have our boss right in here. It's going to go ahead. It'll probably just farm the boss like everything else. The Awakened version of Entendre, if you can keep her alive, it does incredibly well. But that is what 20 floors already done. First time rewards, and then it just continues on from here. All right, guys, so that is going to do it for today's video. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about the Temporal Rift. Also, share what formations you're using down below. It is super important that we're sharing it. That way players can utilize the formations that you're running, utilizing the formations that I'm running, and ultimately going through the teams and looking at my teams. Pick the one that you have the best heroes for that you can build. That for most players, it's going to be the Awakened version of Belinda if you've been playing for a little bit. But overall, choose a team. Path of least resistance is the way you want to go. But again, that's going to do it for today's video. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. And as always, thank you guys for watching.